Oh, oh man. Let's see what the fuck we got going on today. A little news. Hope y'all doing good out there, by the way. Let me see. What we got. I like the live stuff. Yeah, there we go. Mother effing Fox News. All right.
Bye. And you know, Trace, Wisconsin doesn't have a no bail option. As Susan Opper, the Waukesha County District Attorney, promised she would set bail high enough that Brooks would not get out again. And that's why you see that $5 million bail that was required yesterday. Darrell Brooks appeared in court wearing a suicide prevention suit and a COVID mask. He looked down. He seemed to rock and shake a little bit at the defense table. Initially, he was charged with 5 counts of intentional homicide. The 6th count is really just a matter of doing the paperwork, as 8-year-old Jackson Sparks died of his injuries. The county court commissioner said the bail was unusually high, but in this case, it was reasonable.
There are not words to describe the risk that this defendant presents to our community. Not only flight risk, but the dangerousness that he presents, his history of violence.
Now, doorbell video shows Brooks arrived at the home of Daniel Ryder just about 20 minutes after the attack. He claimed he was waiting for an Uber. Ryder didn't know about the attack, and he made Brooks a sandwich. Ultimately, police arrived at that location and took Brooks into custody. Court records show just how deliberate the attack was. When a police detective first encountered the red SUV as it drove through the police barricades, a detective pounded on the hood, got a look at Brooks, told him to stop. He was going that slow. But as the SUV got closer to the people, it only sped up from there. More information about the November 2nd attack, in which Brooks is accused of punching, then running over the mother of his child. We knew at the time that she had tire tracks on her leg, or tire marks on her leg. Further detail, we know now that she suffered a dislocated femur and a broken ankle. That was the case in which Brooks' bond was reduced to only $1,000, and he got out and got access to that vehicle again.
Break his ankles.
Mike Tobin live on the ground for us in Waukesha. Mike, thank you. Center.
Trace, progressive prosecutors are coming under fire for their approach to the justice system. John Crisholm is the Milwaukee County DA who acknowledged he set an inappropriately low bail amount, allowing the Waukesha suspect to back on the street. Crisholm is also the inspiration for San Francisco District Attorney Chesa Boudin, who is under pressure following a spate of videos showing thieves hit high-end stores in the San Francisco Bay Area. Boudin says his office has filed felony charges against 9 people involved in a smash and grab at a Louis Vuitton store, plus burglaries at Walgreens and a cannabis dispensary. The crime spree on Friday amounting to more than $1 million in stolen merchandise. California's looting problem is not confined to the Bay Area, as at least 20 people raided a Nordstrom store in Los Angeles Monday night. Governor Gavin Newsom has vowed to crack down on organized retail theft rings. All of this despite a 2014 law prohibiting prosecutors from charging shoplifters with felonies for stolen merchandise totaling $950 or less. Trace, you spent a lot of time in the state of California. Yep. This has been a mess for a long time. It seems to be getting worse. And there are big questions. What is going to be done about it?
Right, and people are fed up, even in San Francisco, which is very deep blue. California is deep blue, San Francisco especially so. And you have these left-wing prosecutors like Chesa Boudin, who are now, you know, the focus of a recall campaign because people up there are like, we are up to here with the crime.
And it's not just California. It's, you know, states like Illinois. Chicago's got this crime spree happening. It has been happening for quite some time. New York is dealing with the problem. I mean, to the point where some of these stores can't even reopen their doors.
Yep.
So it's a mess, Trace.
Vivek Ramaswamy is coming up on this. It's going to be fantastic. He has got some keen insight. You're going to want to stick around for what he thinks is happening with all of this. Meantime, President Biden spending his Thanksgiving vacation on the island of Nantucket in Massachusetts. The president, who likes to spotlight his working class roots, will be staying at his family's, or not his family's, but with his family at a $30 million oceanfront compound owned by a D.C. Beltway billionaire. This comes as Americans are spending large amounts of their paychecks on soaring gas and food prices. And tomorrow, families across the country will be spending 14% more on their Thanksgiving feast compared to last year. We have Fox team coverage on all of this. Wall Street Journal columnist Bill McGurn is here to discuss the president's handling of the economy. But we begin with White House correspondent Jackie Heinrich, who is traveling with the president in Nantucket. Jackie.
Hey, Trace, good afternoon to you. Well, the same day that President Biden tapped the nation's strategic petroleum reserve, the emergency stockpile for oil, to mitigate these high prices amid crippling inflation, he got aboard Air Force One, headed out to Nantucket to spend the holiday at his billionaire businessman friend's compound. David Rubenstein invited the Biden family to stay at his estate. It's estimated to be worth more than $30 million. The White House did make sure to mention that the president has stayed with Rubenstein before. And for context, past presidents have also stayed with wealthy friends over the holidays. President Clinton with a Democratic donor on Martha's Vineyard, just for one example. But critics say this luxurious stay with the economy in such a tough place shows that President Biden's out of touch with the problems facing working class Americans, even as he tries to show them that he relates. The American Farm Bureau Federation found last week the average cost for a Thanksgiving dinner of 10 people reached an all-time high this year, up 14% from 2020. Turkey per pound is up nearly 9%. Potatoes are up 20%, onions 32%, cranberries a little over 2%, and lettuce is up nearly 12%.
Moms and dads are worried, asking, will there be enough food we can afford to buy for the holidays? Will we be able to get Christmas presents to the kids on time? And if so, will they cost me an arm and a leg? But families can rest easy.
Today, the White House touted improvements in supply chain bottlenecks and availability of goods at two big retailers and also small businesses ahead of Black Friday. But some ominous language from them around the causes of inflation, saying a deeper cure to congestion at ports will take years. Also calling, quote, the ocean shipping cartel a cause for price hikes and inflation. The president also touted lower unemployment claims, but said there's work left before the economy is back to normal, pitching his social spending plan as a solution, writing, it's why it's so critical that the Senate passes the Build Back Better Act, which, according to leading economists, will cut costs for American families without adding to price pressures. Now, that bill, the $1.75 trillion that has headed to the Senate, would be paid for in part by raising taxes on corporations and the very rich, like Biden's friend whose home he is staying at. Trace?
Jackie Heinrich live for us on Nantucket. Jackie, thank you.
For more on this, let's bring in Wall Street Journal columnist Bill McGurn. Bill, good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving to you. It's something we're all, you know, by this point, as we have been covering it, because it's something that's affecting every American family. If you go to the grocery store, you've seen the spike in prices. If you don't see the prices up, you see that they're shrinking the package or the box or the bag and putting less stuff in there and keeping the price the same. Still inflation.
I don't even know how much that is, but that's a lot.
How much longer can this go on before this becomes a big midterms political issue? Rising gas prices and rising food prices.
Yeah, I think it's already an issue. Look, the Republicans just added, I think, 13 more Democrats that it's targeting on this issue. It has an ad about the most expensive Thanksgiving. As you kind of suggest, the reason this is so damaging is that everyone feels inflation. You know, I have two girls just out of college. They feel it. They're paying an extra $20 when they fill up their car each time. They feel it when they go to the grocery store and they bring home a bag that costs a lot more than it did last year. So, you know, what have they heard for a year? Not a year, a couple of months. You know, the Biden people have told us it's not really a problem. It's a high-class problem or something. Now it's a top priority, but they're saying maybe next year in the second half it'll go away. You know, it better, because I think it's the biggest problem the Democrats have, and they have some pretty big problems.
Meanwhile, the president has called a lid already today, earlier this morning, and he's off to Nantucket for the for the holiday weekend, and he'll be staying at a massive compound of a billionaire. Peter Doocy in the White House briefing room yesterday asked about how the American people should feel about that when some are struggling to put food on the table. Here's Saki, listen.
What message does it send to the middle-class Americans President Biden says that he's trying to help, who are struggling this week to cover the cost of the most expensive Thanksgiving ever, that the president is going to take a few days off at a billionaire's compound in Nantucket?
Any increase in prices is something the president is concerned about. But I just want to be clear that there are abundance of turkeys available. They're about $1 more for a 20-pound bird, which is a huge bird if you're feeding a very big family.
Almost a dismissal of the higher prices that people are paying. And it's not just a dollar here and there, it adds up. We can put the notable price increases for the Thanksgiving staples up on your screen. You'll see if you're buying a 16-pound turkey, your prices are up 24%. Everything's gonna cost more. Your bread, your dinner rolls, cranberries, the pie shells, you know, those frozen pie shells, because making the real pie shell takes hours. And the total classic meal at 14%. That's a double-digit increase. That is something people feel, Bill, to your point.
Yeah, I don't care where President Biden has his Thanksgiving dinner. I don't care whose table he's at. What I care is about these policies. If things he doesn't take questions because, frankly, that's the best thing the White House staff can do for him. They clearly don't think he's up to it, right? And a lot of Americans are concluding that. And I think inflation is going to be the big issue. You know, and there are a lot of other big issues like crime and the president's handling of the border in Afghanistan.
Yep.
But inflation, you know, it's also for this reason. Joe Biden's whole claim is that he's not going to make anyone earning under $400,000 a year pay more for his Build Back Better. But they're already paying in terms of inflation, watching their paychecks erode. And that's a tax, what used to be called the cruelest tax. And people are feeling it.
Milton Friedman. I mean, those are tangible costs, and we will all feel that this Thanksgiving holiday. And by the way, the president yesterday concluded that speech talking about the economy, didn't take a single question. And there are a lot of questions to be asked, important ones. Bill McGurn, great to see you. Enjoy your holiday and enjoy that turkey.
Thank you. You too.
I was, thank you very much. Trace, I was listening to Bill, but I was also looking at the video we had rolling of people scooping out they put their turkey on their plate. We had the video rolling, and I'm hungry now. You know, it's 1 o'clock on the East Coast. Real quickly, you know, we talk about the skyrocketing price of turkey. The mainstream media has an answer for that, Trace. Here was another network. Oh, I believe this was 2 days ago, so forgive me for playing it. This is what they're suggesting if you don't want to pay the high prices. Listen.
Perhaps forego the turkey. Bear with me. Ooh. I know that is the staple of the Thanksgiving meal. However, some people think turkey is overrated, and so it tends to be the most expensive thing on the table. Maybe you do an Italian feast instead. If you tell everyone you're having a Thanksgiving without turkey, some guests may drop off the list, and that's a way to cut costs too.
So there you go. Make pasta, Trace.
Listen, the whole thing is you can just cancel Thanksgiving altogether and save yourself a bundle.
The most ridiculous thing I've heard.
Yeah, it is.
By the way, Art Lapper is going to be joining us on all this coming up. And Phil Flynn, oil trader extraordinaire. We'll talk about the release of those strategic oil reserves, and will it even bring gas prices down, Trace?
Those are two powerful guests. Can't wait to hear what they have to say. Meantime, day 2 of jury deliberations in the murder trial of 3 men accused of killing Ahmaud Arbery. We are on verdict watch with Fox News crews live outside the courthouse.
And Trace, wokeness comes to the crime crisis hitting America today, with some people being opposed to the word looting now. How so? Vivek Ramaswamy joins us now after the break on that next.
Opposed to the word.
If time be of all things the most precious, wasting time must be the greatest indulgence. I say never leave until tomorrow that which you can do today. Today should be the day you reclaim your life and live pain-free like I do. Many great Americans have walked this very path I've walked today, and I'm so grateful that I have the ability to physically be here and share my story with you. Recently, an injury limited my ability to move, and I was experiencing a great deal of pain. Like many of you suffering from pain, I wanted a 100% drug-free solution to pain, and I found it, Relief Factor. Relief Factor is 100% drug-free and created by doctors, backed by scientific research, specifically formulated to help your body fight pain and inflammation. You truly can feel the difference. Call 1-800-4RELIEF or just go to relieffactor.com to feel the difference.
Why not crush your mortgage payment and take thousands out in cash? Contact Owning for a cash-out refi at today's 30-year fixed, 2.5% rate, 2.731 APR. Call 8555-OWNING or go to owning.com.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, the CEO of MyPillow. Cancel culture has not only affected myself and MyPillow, but millions of you out there. My employees and I want to personally thank each and every one of you for all of your support. At MyPillow, we not only have pillows, but we have hundreds of products, including my new slippers, bathrobes, sleepwear, and my new beds. We're offering the best gifts ever for the best prices ever. For example, we have this exclusive offer on the standard size MyPillows, regularly $69.98, now only $19.98 with your promo code. We also have the queen size MyPillows, regularly $79.98, now only $24.98 with your promo code. And we have the king size, regularly $89.98, now only $29.98 with your promo code. So go to mypillow.com now and use the promo code on your screen or call the 1-800 number below to receive this exclusive offer.
The right Medicare plan can help you save money and get more out of life. So do yourself a favor. Call now to speak with the experts at Medicare Enroll. They'll give you a free Medicare coverage review. Plus, they can see if you qualify for additional benefits, like a no-cost fitness club membership, dental, vision, and hearing coverage, and a Part B premium give back that puts money back in your pocket. It's a free service, so don't wait. Call Medicare Enroll for a free coverage review today.
At Heinz, every ketchup starts with our same tomatoes. But not every tomato ends in the same kind of Heinz ketchup. Because a bit of magic unfolds when there's a ketchup for everyone.
An exclusive look at Fox Nation's Tucker Carlson Today. The biggest interviews, the revealing conversations, and the unfiltered insight you can't hear anywhere else on a special Thanksgiving Tucker Carlson Tonight.
Selling a home is expensive and stressful, so we set out to create a better home selling experience with a network of the most successful real estate agents in America that'll sell your home for as little as a 2% commission.
The icing on the cake with the Ideal Agent was that we saved $12,000 in commission.
We would definitely use Ideal Agent again. The whole process was so positive for us.
Excellent service. Getting right to the point, hiring Ideal Agent, I wish we would have done that sooner. And we would have saved 6 months of time and mortgage payments that would have probably never happened if we would have just gone with them first.
They were so stress-free. The whole process was amazing, and I would definitely recommend them.
We certainly recommend Ideal Agent now to all of our family, all of our friends. It's just a great experience.
We are not a discount brokerage. These are top local agents that'll get you the best results.
Critics slamming so-called experts who are advising against using the term looting to describe recent large-scale thefts from retail stores in California. It comes after the local ABC affiliate in San Francisco cited two people it referred to as experts, a professor and a retired police officer, who say the word could be associated with people of color and therefore should not be used. Vivek Ramaswamy is a biotech entrepreneur and author of Woke Incorporated. Vivek, always great to have you on. It was actually the San Francisco police chief who first used this term, calling these people looters, right? Now we're being told that's racist. Can't call them looters. They are actually smash and grabbers. And the question is, I mean, shouldn't we be more worried about the actual crimes than what we call the crimes?
Absolutely. It also reveals a racist presupposition baked into this new woke ideology. To say that looting is racist, in part, associates looters with people of a certain skin color. It's the same problem with saying that math is racist. It presupposes that people of a certain skin color aren't as good as math. I couldn't think of a more racist presupposition in the first place in the name of fighting racism. And Trace, I think it reveals the extent to which wokeness, as I've argued all along, is really just a form of a religion. Certain words you can't say, clothes you can't wear, apologies you must recite. That's what this is at its essence.
And whatever you call these things, organized robberies, whatever, you know, I'm wondering why the whole race thing got into this in the first place, because you watch this video, most of these people are wearing full masks and gloves. You have no idea what race they are. So if you call them looters, how in the world are you being racist?
So you see, there's a really clever move baked into the new woke movement, which is to conflate race from being something that has to do with something as superficial as your skin color to being about your voice, about your identity. In fact, Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley summed it up well when she said, we don't want any more black or brown faces that don't want to be a black or brown voice. So that means if you disagree with that voice or that perspective, that automatically makes you a racist in the new woke ideology. So it's a really clever move of verbal jujitsu that they've made. But the irony, Trace, is the only people who understand these new verbal rules are the people who often don't have to bear the consequences of the bad policies that they support. Well-educated people living in the suburbs aren't the ones who suffer the most when you actually have people who are cleared from the jails, but then go on to actually commit crimes in poor inner-city neighborhoods. That's the irony at the heart of it.
When you talk about this verbal jujitsu, we have been down this road before. I mean, we did this with the whole illegal immigration thing, right? That they're not illegal immigrants, says some, they're undocumented persons, and it goes on from there. But you look at federal law, and federal law calls them illegal aliens and illegal immigrants. That's what the statute states. So we have been fighting this battle now for years, Vivek.
Yeah, look, George Orwell said it well. The way to control the mind of a society is to first control its language. That's what the woke movement has mastered. And look, we conflate terms that we shouldn't be conflating. The issue of border security at the southern border is a different issue from immigration itself. So I think that many of the ways in which not only left, but actually a lot of people as a consequence use language imprecisely fails us from actually solving the problems we need to solve instead of obsessing over how we talk about those problems in the first place. It's what I call blowing woke smoke to be able to avoid true accountability for actual policy failures that we should be talking about instead.
Blowing woke smoke. That's a catch of the day. You see that video there, them smashing it. We forget that California is actually decriminalized. Anything less than $950 in theft is no longer a crime. Vivek, always great to have you on. Thank you.
Well, good thing they were breaking into some major jewelry stores.
Chase, thank you. Jurors in the Ahmaud Arbery murder trial deliberating the fates of 3 white men for a second day in Brunswick, Georgia. It comes as the nearly all-white jury remains a source of contention, with the 25-year-old black jogger's killing viewed by many as an act of racial violence. Steve Harrigan is live near the courthouse with the very latest. I am being told, Steve, in my ear, a verdict has been reached.
Sandra, there is breaking news just seconds ago from the sheriff's notes from the pool here at the courthouse that there has been a verdict reached. We don't know that verdict yet. We expect movement in the courtroom over the next few minutes to learn that verdict. Keep in mind, this jury has been at it 6 hours last night, 5 hours this morning. They're trying to decide the fate of 3 white men with 9 charges each against them. And of course, the most serious charge is murder with malice against 25-year-old black man Ahmaud Arbery. The defense has tried to make the claim that the 3 white men were making a citizen's arrest. They also claim that the admitted shooter fired in self-defense, that Travis McMichael shot his gun only when Ahmaud Arbery charged him with his fists. They say he was not a jogger, but a burglar. The prosecution has countered that claim, saying that Arbery never stole anything, that you can't make a citizen's arrest if no crime has been committed. And they tried to make the case that it was the 3 white men who had 2 pickup trucks, a shotgun, and a pistol, and who pursued Arbery for more than 5 minutes as he tried to escape, that they, in fact, were the aggressors.
You can't claim self-defense if you are the unjustified initial aggressor, meaning if you started it. Who started this? It wasn't Ahmaud Arbery.
The crowd has been very different from day to day. On one afternoon, we saw several dozen people in uniform with rifles. We've seen several hundred black pastors Right now, the crowd pretty small today. A lot of families out there. We've seen prayer vigils as well, so calm outside the courthouse. But in just minutes ago, we heard from the sheriff that there has been a verdict reached, and we'll see if that is in fact the case. Sandra, back to you.
Steve, thank you. Trace, we're gonna just take our viewers along here. We are expecting that this verdict could be read, Steve, and perhaps you could elaborate on this. That this could be read within the next 10 minutes or so, we're told. That is because this morning, per the sheriff's office, the deliberations would continue into Friday and Saturday if necessary, we were told. There was talk of the court recessing early on Wednesday. That would be today for Thanksgiving, but it would be up to the jury, obviously. But before leaving the bench this morning, the judge said, quote, 10 minutes notice to the lawyers, indicating that perhaps when the jury said that they'd come to a verdict, that it would be 10 minutes before it would be read. Is that your takeaway?
It is. There has been a lot of speculation as to how close this jury is. Keep in mind they had a lot of video to see. They actually could see the 3 shots being fired on video. It seemed they were close last night. The judge brought the jury 4-person out, told them to keep working, and then let them go for the night. This jury is made up of 11 whites, 1 black, 9 women, 3 men. They've been at it now almost 12 hours. In a charge of murder against 3 men. Those 3 men could be facing death or life imprisonment. So their fate really hangs in the balance here as we await the jury to enter the room and tell us what they've decided.
You know, Steve, it's fascinating because one of the men there, Roddy Bryan, who's 53 years old, is the one who took this videotape, right? His cell phone video kind of following the McMichaels as they were in the truck ahead of them. And the question that apparently today the jury wanted to re-look at some of that video. And we thought, you know, because the same thing happened in the Kyle Rittenhouse case last week, where the jury wanted to relook at some video, and you're seeing some of that video there. Do we know, Steve, in particular, what they were looking for? What portion and it didn't really show the actual shooting. What portion of that video, if you know, was the jury focused on?
The jury did come out and asked for 2 things. They asked to see the video of the shooting at regular speed, and they also asked to hear the 911 call that the father, Greg McMichael, made from the back of that pickup truck. We don't know exactly what they were looking for in those 2 questions. Trace.
Steve, just for anybody tuning in right now, we just got word about 2 minutes ago. The jury has reached a verdict. The jury has concluded deliberations and reached a verdict on the Ahmaud Arbery case. This is according to the sheriff's deputies, which is how it typically happens. Steve, before we get to Jonathan Turley here in just a moment, as we expect perhaps this could be read moments from now, sort of set the scene there as far as how the area has been preparing for this verdict.
They've had a long time to prepare. Keep in mind this shooting happened in 2020 in February, and it has a strange history. There were no immediate arrests made. Only after 10 weeks were any arrests made, and they were only made after this videotape came to light. And the videotape was, in fact, made by one of the defendants, by Roddy Bryan. So if that didn't happen, we might not even be here. He actually leaked the tape that now has him on trial for his life. As far as the mood here, it has swung rapidly back and forth. We have seen hundreds of black pastors here, peaceful families out here on prayer vigils, but we've also seen several dozen people.
Look, this is far different. Everybody knows that. This is far different than the last trial of Kyle Rittenhouse. This is. I'm not going to comment yet. I'm not going to comment. I'm going to see what comes out. I'm going to look at what your perspectives are before I even comment, because I mean, as a 18-and-a-half-year, police veteran, military police, I have my own opinions, obviously, and they're not off top. You know what I mean? They're not off far right or off far left. I just want to, before I comment, I want to see what happens here. This is going to be, this could turn out to be a shit show, or it could be a, you know what I mean, or it could be very contained. So we'll see. Hopefully the pastors there that are on the, you know what I mean, that are with the people outside can hold
Great.
Stand by, Steve. Let's bring in
Here we go.
Jonathan Turley,
They can hold the peace.
Professor, a Fox News
This
contributor.
might get out of
Professor,
hand.
you know,
We'll
you
see.
look at this case and you kind of go back to the Kyle Rittenhouse case, and boy, the prosecution did a really good job in the Rittenhouse case.
Any
I'm
guesses?
sorry, the
What do you guys
defense
think?
did a really good
chat's
job in the
open now.
Rittenhouse
You
case
guys
of
can
beating
talk.
up the prosecution's case. In this case,
Feel free
you know, you have
let
the
your
defense
thoughts
case is
come
not
out.
as
I'm not
strong, and there's
gonna
two
say
factors,
anything.
two
I'm
reasons
not
why.
gonna berate
One,
you or
what they're
talk
saying
crap to you or
is
nothing like
that you
This
have
is
to
all
prove to make a
freedom of
citizen's
speech,
arrest,
man.
you
I
have to
fought
prove that a
for it
crime
just like
was
millions
committed.
of other
And
veterans. So
two, to
please
prove
say what you want to
self-defense,
say.
you know, you have to prove that you were in imminent danger. And what they're saying here is that Ahmaud Arbery's fists were his weapons, right? He was going to beat up one of the defendants and then take the gun away and shoot them. What do you make of where the defense stands on this?
Well, you're absolutely right. The prosecution in this case is much stronger. They did a very good job in laying this out for the jury. The real question in my mind is whether there might be a compromise verdict on the two non-shooters, Greg McMichaels and Brian. Brian's the one who took the videotape and was behind the truck when the shooting occurred in his own truck. They charged all three individuals with murder. That might have tied up the jury a bit. But these are cases that really turn on framing. That is, the job of the attorney and the defense attorney and the prosecutors is to try to frame the case in a way that is most beneficial.
Again, thanks for
the
tuning in.
prosecutor,
Verdict should be
they
out within
want the
about
jury
5 minutes
looking
max.
at the final
Hopefully everything remains
and
peaceful.
that's the
If it's the
broad
opposite
framing
way,
of it. And if you
I have a
take
feeling
that
of the way it's going to
perspective,
go, but
it tends to lead
we
you
don't know,
towards
man.
conviction. The defense wants you to freeze frame on the encounter between McMichaels and Arbery when he came out of the truck. They're arguing that citizens have a right to follow suspects in the neighborhood, to confront people they think might be suspects, and that when they did so, Arbery grabbed the shotgun and it became a matter of self-defense. So how one frames the case can have a huge impact on how you view the crime.
Yeah.
Just making the point here, Jonathan, that this is the 14th day of the trial and the second day of jury deliberations in all of this. 12-person jury. The deliberations began just yesterday. Did you see this happening as quickly as it appears to be?
Well, you know, as a criminal defense attorney, you're always worried about holidays, that the jury would like to wrap things up before a holiday. It's hard to say which way that cuts. I think most defense attorneys view a verdict in a case like this, if it is rushed to favor the prosecution. But I'm not too sure that this verdict really depends on time. Many people were horrified by what they saw. Many of us looked at those trucks chasing Arbery, and it was just breathtaking, and it raised a lot of painful images, not just from the South, but around the country, that had a racial meaning to it. The defense really had to try to work through that shock effect, that that initial shock to the video. The interesting thing is the jury has to look at the video again in real time. And that's fascinating, because a lot of times you slow these things down, you freeze frame, and the jury wanted to see it as it unfolded. This was a very quick and tragically fatal encounter. The other thing I thought was interesting is they wanted to hear Greg McMichael's 911
a very
call.
relevant question, because, like I said,
could lead to a
mindset's
question
everything.
as to
You
what
guys know
his
that
status
if you've ever
really
been
should
in a
be.
combat
They're hitting
situation or any
him
type of
with
situation,
murder counts, but he never pulled a
that's
trigger,
adrenaline rush,
and he
you know
made
what I
that
mean?
call to
Your mind
911.
reacts the way it's
So
going
it'd
to
be
react.
interesting if
So
it was
that is an
on
interesting
Greg
question.
McMichaels that they ended up
And an
having some
interesting perspective.
difficulty.
I'm glad that they
Yeah,
actually
and I
did
think,
that
Professor, you make a
perspective.
good
It's good.
point to kind of set the landscape for the people who haven't really been following this that closely. We're talking about Travis McMichael. He's 35 years old. He is a Coast Guard veteran. They talked up this trial, how he learned how to respond to these things. And we're seeing their live video on the lace where the jury's about to come in. We're not hearing audio yet. Are we going to listen to the judge?
I expect we will be able to hear him.
Yeah, as soon as they turn the audio up, we will get the jury to come in, and we will hear the judge and take it from there. Well, nobody can see the jury, so we don't know if they're seated at this point in time. But of course, when the attorneys sit down, we'll have a better idea.
Legislative.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Madam Foreperson, I understand you have reached a verdict as to each defendant.
We have.
Please hand your verdict forms to the sheriff. All right, I'm going to go ahead and address each one of these verdict forms separately. First verdict form I have is the state of Georgia versus Travis McMichael. Mr. McMichael, please stand. Verdict is as follows. In the Superior Court of Glenn County, state of Georgia, the state of Georgia versus Travis McMichael, case number CR 000433. Jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. I'm going to ask that whoever just made an outburst be removed from the court, please. As this court has indicated, I ask that there be no outbursts in the court, and I expect as much from the gallery. Please respect the court's desire for this as we move forward. If you feel like you need to make a comment or otherwise demonstrate with respect to the verdict, I do ask that you step out of the courtroom now. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, Travis McMichael, guilty. Dated this 24th day of November, 2021, signed by the foreperson. Have a seat. As to Gregory McMichael. In the Superior Court of Glenn County, the state of Georgia versus Greg McMichael, case number CR 2000433. Jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, not guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, Greg McMichael, guilty. This 24th day of November, 2021, signed by the foreperson. As to William R. Bryan. In the Superior Court of Glenn County, State of Georgia versus William R. Bryan. Case number CR 2000433. Jury verdict form. Count 1, malice murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, not guilty. Count 2, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, not guilty. Count 3, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, guilty. Count 4, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, guilty. Count 5, felony murder. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, guilty. Count 6, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, not guilty. Count 7, aggravated assault. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, guilty. Count 8, false imprisonment. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, guilty. Count 9, criminal attempt to commit a felony. We, the jury, find the defendant, William R. Bryan, guilty. Signed this 24th day of November by the foreperson. Go ahead and see. Court having read the verdicts and accepted the verdicts, anything from the state?
No, Your Honor, nothing from the state.
Anything from the defense?
We ask the jury be polled, Your Honor.
All defendants ask the jury be polled? All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask each of you individually a set of 2 questions with respect to the verdicts that I have just read. If you could please respond when you hear your juror number. Juror number 1, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, sir.
Juror number 2, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, sir.
I think I can't. Okay, 2. Juror number 3, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes.
Juror number 4, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Travis McMichael guilty on all counts,
Juror number
including
5,
malice murder, which
you
is
have heard the
probably
verdicts
the
read.
highest charge.
Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
And his, I believe that was his,
Juror number
I don't know,
7,
the other 2.
you have heard the verdicts read.
Point, but,
Were these your verdicts then, and are these your
they were
verdicts
also
now?
convicted guilty of the lesser charge of murder.
Juror number 8,
but still holds,
you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
This verdict, I mean, I
Juror
think
number
it holds
9,
true. But what do you
you
guys
have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 10, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 11, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
Juror number 12, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, Your Honor.
And juror 16, you have heard the verdicts read. Were these your verdicts then, and are these your verdicts now?
Yes, sir.
The jury has been polled. Anything further from the defense?
There you go.
From Greg McMichael?
No, Your Honor.
From Mr. Bryan?
No, Your Honor.
Fine. Ladies and gentlemen, what that means with the court having accepted your verdict is that your role in this case is now at an end. What we're going to do today is I'm going to have all of you, the panel and the 3 alternates, go ahead and retire into the jury room. I'm going to address a couple matters logistically with you in the jury room once we get done here. But before we do that, and before I excuse you, I do want to thank you publicly for your service here in Glenn County. It has been a long trial, and I appreciate the fact that you have been attentive. You have listened to the evidence. And that is what we ask in this court. It's a very simple ask in a very complex way. So it's appreciated. When we all got together, I say we all got together, when we got together at different times, I said that I was going to thank you a number of times and how I was going to tell you I do truly appreciate your time here. Hopefully you understand why I said that when we started. I do also hope that you got a little bit of an insight into what goes on in a trial and maybe understand a little bit more of how important it is for members of our community to come down and be part of this process and serve as jurors in this community. So again, thank you for that service. And I'll come address y'all in just a moment. You're excused.
All right, for the jury.
Okay, after 2 days of deliberations, the jurors there have come to a verdict in this case. Travis McMichael, the first one read aloud there by the judge. This is Arbery's mother, I'm being told.
All right, it is this court's usual.
Arbery's mother was sitting in the courtroom reacting very emotionally as all of this was read. Travis McMichael, the news at the very top, the man who fatally shot Ahmaud Arbery, was convicted of murder and found guilty on all counts against him. Jonathan Turley was joining us ahead of this coverage. The verdict has now been reached. You've been listening along with us. Jonathan Turley, your reaction as Travis Michael found guilty of malice murder, while Gregory McMichael was found not guilty of that charge, as well as William Roddy Bryan.
You know, this is the expected result, given the weight of the evidence and the power of the videotape. The prosecutors alleged a series of lesser offenses, including aggravated assault, false imprisonment. The reason for that is those were the linchpins to get felony murder. It turns out that that was a very important tactic for the prosecution, because the jury did find those lesser offenses, and once they did, since they're felonies, you can be found guilty of murder if you participated in that underlying crime and it resulted in the death of Mr. Arbery. And so they ended up having sweeping convictions. There was a little bit different array of charges, but they all impact the same way on these defendants. They're all looking at life imprisonment.
Yeah, and it's a great question, because I was wondering, Professor, as they were reading these charges, how you had Travis McMichael, who was guilty of malice murder. He was guilty all the way across the board. But then you had Gregory Michael, not guilty of malice murder, guilty of felony. And then you go on to Roddy Bryan, who was not guilty of malice murder, not guilty of the first count of felony murder, and then guilty on the second count. And why? What played into it being the second count of felony murder?
Well, this was a belt and suspenders prosecution. They put up charges for each insular lesser offense. So you had aggravated assault, not just with the shotgun, but also with the truck. You had false imprisonment by cutting off Arbery. And so basically the prosecution was spreading its bets. They only needed to nail one of those lesser offenses to have the predicate felony to get felony murder. And that paid off for the prosecution. It turns out the jury did not accept some of those lesser offenses, but they only needed one. And the result is really quite complete for the prosecution. I mean, they ran the table. They got convictions on all three men. Bryan was the most difficult one. You know, he was at a distance from the shooting, and he videotaped. He was the person who videotaped the ultimate shooting. His defense counsel took a rather curious approach. He suggested that his client had been brought to the scene by, quote, providence, making it sound like it was God's hand that he followed them and fit.
So I just wanted to recap real quick because I'm going to jump off. I think we don't need to blast this all day. I don't think we need to blast the news all day anyway. But I think it was a fair verdict. I think it was just. I think for those that have questions about the American justice system, you can see how the trials played out in the Kyle Rittenhouse verdict, and you can see how the trial played out in the Ahmaud Arbery verdict. And tell me, is what we fought for really that screwed up. I don't think so. I think justice was served. I think that racial injustice is not, when it comes to the criminal justice system, is not one-sided or slated. I think it's down the middle. I'm sorry. I don't know if that's going to offend people, but if it does, well, I'm not here for you. So, you know what I mean? And you can say what you got to say about it. I'm not going to, like I said, I won't attack you, but I'm also not going to sway my values. I think that we don't live in the 1600s, the 1800s, you know, even the 1900s anymore. We're in 2021. Okay. For those that say that the United States is super racial, I would say I disagree with you. And I'd say that verdicts like this and things like this prove it. Are there pockets in the United States where we still have racism? Yes, absolutely. Is that racism one culture or one-sided? No. Black people are racist against white people against black people. Hispanic people even racist against everybody. You know, black people, white people. It's all in turn, and there's different pockets everywhere. So it's not an issue. It's not. The majority of the country get it. And this right here proves it. Like I said, tell me if I'm wrong. I hope I'm provoking your thoughts. I hope I'm provoking something inside you that says I have the freedom to be able to feel how I want to feel on this and not like everybody else. You know what I mean? You could tell me I'm a total idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about, and that's fine. Go for it. I'm not going to attack you. I'd say this, all right? This is what my take is on this whole incident. Whenever you bring a gun like that into a citizen's arrest, you're asking for trouble. Now, when we saw Kyle Rittenhouse, because you're going to say, well, Kyle Rittenhouse had a gun too. Did he provoke it? In a way, it was unsettling, but he was in the protection of property, okay? And that property happened to be, if you look into it a little bit more than what the media coverage is, that property happened to be his friend of his family's, right? And they coordinated whatever. They wanted to protect the cars. That's up to them. They were there on their property with their weapons. Whoever entered that property knew so and still tried to rush at this boy. And there was even other guns involved, but that wasn't brought up. So, and then you look at the Ahmaud Arbery thing, right? Citizen's arrest. You're chasing a guy down the street. The dude's running away from you. You're asking for that boy to engage you. Natural human instinct says, if somebody is attacking me or threatening me, I have to defend myself for the preservation of my life. In Kyle Rittenhouse, this was evident. Travis McMichael, fuck no. Okay? You chased that man down. You killed that man. And now you're in prison for it. Whoever wants to sit around like his family members and videotape the incident because, oh, I got to make sure that, you know, we have coverage in case we go to court and yada, yada, yada. Well, you had a chance to stop it. You didn't stop it. That's why you're in jail too. So, folks, I'm really thinking that the justice system did its job in both trials. I think the American justice system is not corrupt. Is there corrupt people all over the world? Yes. Doesn't make the justice system corrupt. When you follow the justice system and the law accordingly, and you weigh the law like it's supposed to, you see what happens. Rings true every time. I thank the jurors for actually being fair, you know what I mean, and actually looking at the evidence on both trials. That's a hard job. Somebody's got to do it. They did it right. So, peace. God bless. Hope you tune in next time. Thank you. Real quick before I bounce, let me look at my users real quick. I'm gonna say thanks. Big shout out to Six Flags Magic Mountain. Hold on, let me make sure I get your name right here. Lilituff and Caxips. How do I say that, man? Cap 606 and some other folks were on earlier, but they jumped out real quick after the verdict. So thanks, guys. I appreciate the tune in. Please hit the follow button. We're going to be doing, I'm going to be doing some other things too, like the insurrection coverage that they're going to do, the special. I'm going to view that, give my take on that. A lot of different things. So happy Thanksgiving. Hope you guys have a great one. For all you vets out there, thank you for your service. And it's a proud privilege to be able to defend America, and it's a proud privilege to be honored next to you.